This is a special podcast presentation from 700WLW.com. This is Steve Summers on Demand.
This is America's Truckin' Network with Steve Summers. Thank you much. Glad to have you along for the ride on a Friday. TGIF. Getting set for the weekend here. Well, after an extended period of fall-like cool temperatures gripping much of the east, the summer heat will return to end the month of August. Lo and behold, now while the heat may mean more people get out of the house and enjoy the great outdoors, it also means some invasive problems may decide to leave the outdoors and enter your home. High humidity, heavy summer rainfall can all contribute to some problems with your home. It's an interesting report from the folks at AccuWeather. Homeowners need to take precautions to ensure that mold, water, insects, and rodents don't damage your property in the warmer, more humid, wet days of summer. Of course, portions of the plains and the mid-Atlantic, it's been very wet recently, causing growing concern for some homeowners. Portions of Kansas and Missouri have been deluged by more rain during the first couple weeks of this month than they would typically receive literally in the entire summer. Meanwhile, Philadelphia shattering their old rainfall record for the summer. 27.55 inches of rain since just the month of June, more than double their normal summer rainfall. We may talk a bit more in depth on some of the issues, the mold and the pests and the flooding concerns a little bit later in the program. But is it summer's last gasp, I guess you'd say, would be the question. Now, let me see here. A couple from the email bag. Hey, Steve, tell Dean, look out the window to the north. I'm waving my hand here in Wildwood, Florida, just to let everyone know I've dealt with these guys for about 3 years. I wish I would have called them earlier. They've been nothing but the best. If you have a problem, don't wait. Give them a call. All right. Thank you very much for the email. Let's see. Here's another. Steve, I had Dean fix me up on my 6-year IRS issues. The ex decided that emptying the file cabinet into the dumpster with 6 years of paperwork would make it lighter so she could move to the old U-Haul storage shed with the rest of my stuff while I was on the road. Yeah, okay. Well, they fixed me up then, hooked me up with Wendy, and now even my QuickBooks is up and running like a dream, thanks to him and his team getting me on a very low payment plan with the IRS. I've been approved for a second truck through the finance company, even with the tax lien. They even kept the KGB from touching my bank accounts. If my fellow drivers have issues holding them back due to the Internal Revenue Service, Dean and the crew can really help. Thank you so much for having Dean on the show. Well, there's some positive feedback for you there, Dean.
Well, I really love hearing that. I really do. Thank you so much to those people that wrote those wonderful things. I can never get enough of those kind words.
By the way, the email is steve@700WLW.com. Now let's get back to, by the way, lines. We got several lines open. It's 888-860-8785. Let's see what's going on with Mitch this morning. Hi, Mitch.
Morning, Steve. Hey, Dean, I got a question for you. I make 36 cents a mile actual pay, and I make 9 cents a mile per diem pay. Mm-hmm. At the end of the year, what's that per diem pay going to do to me?
You're asking the wrong guy, my friend. That would be a great question for my tax preparation department.
Okay.
That's not my area of expertise. Never has been, and I made a point that it never will be. I deal in tax resolution, so if you owe debt and what have you, then I'm the guy to tell you every answer you need to know.
Well, that's what I'm trying to find out. If I'm going to have a debt at the end of the year, are they going to give me an I-99 or what? I don't know. And I've tried to talk to two people at the office, and they just, oh, yeah, it'll be great. Yeah, everything's fine. Yeah, I'm not getting the answer, so I thought maybe I'd ask you.
Well, they're going to give you a 1099 for whatever it is they say they paid you. I don't know if they're covering the fuel and what have you, or if that's coming out of your pocket.
Oh, I'm a company driver.
Company driver. Okay, so the only things you'd be able to write off is anything that's unreimbursed, something that's not reimbursed by the company itself. And, whatever it is they're paying you, obviously they're taking taxes out, right? If you're a company driver?
Well, they're taking out on the 36 cents a mile, but the 9 cents a mile, they're not taking taxes out on it.
Okay. All right. But they're paying it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's something that'll have to be taken into consideration, obviously, when you're preparing the return. But again, I don't want to give you any wrong advice. I can't say that I have the expert answer on that one. It's not like.
Do you have people at your staff that do?
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Okay, so if I call and talk to them, tomorrow, they'll be able to help me out with this.
Oh yes, for sure. For sure.
Okay.
I'll probably end up talking to my wife. She's real good at that kind of thing.
Okay. I've been with the same tax guy for 5 years, and it seems like I end up paying.
And what happens?
And I think he lost his cell there, Dean.
Oh, really? All right. So he ends up owing every year, I'm assuming, based on the way the conversation.
That's what it sounds like, yeah, because he pays. So.
Yeah, that shouldn't be, especially if you're having per diem and you're getting taxes taken out. If you're a W-2 income earner, there should be no reason in the world why you're paying taxes at the end of the year, unless you're claiming more dependents than what you truly have, which is an option. When I was a W-2 employee, I decided that I didn't want to let the government borrow my money for the year, so I would say that I had 8 dependents for the first half of the year, and then for the second half of the year, I'd claim my normal amount of dependents. And it would all come out even. I wouldn't owe them; they wouldn't owe me. And preferably, that's the way I liked it, just because I don't like what they're doing with our money anyway.
But then at the end of the year, you had to make sure you got enough in the account to cover whatever it's going to be, right? I mean, if you're going to owe $5,000 or $8,000, whatever they might have been withholding, you got to have that in the bank.
Well, the point that I'm saying is, in a W-2, if you're claiming what you actually have as a number of dependents, they're taking out more money than what you truly owe, and hence that's the reason why you get a refund at the end of the year.
Right.
Now they could have changed some tax laws and what have you, or whatever it is they changed, and at the end of the year maybe they decided you don't have a refund all of a sudden. So my idea that I went with was that if you claim more dependents the first half of the year, where you get more of your check, then the other half of the year you claim the normal amount of dependents or zero. It's going to come out even, because where you were getting a larger check, it all of a sudden comes back to the normal amount, and then you're at a break-even point. Just make sure to remember to change it halfway through the year. Otherwise, you have a whole year of claiming 8 dependents. You're going to have a big debt then.
I know a lot of people, and technically, a few years ago, I was in the category myself where if I was going to save any money, it had to come out of my, it had to come out by their withholding taxes, because otherwise I wasn't going to, whatever I brought home, I was going to spend it, So if I wanted to get, $3,000 back at the first of the year, that was about the only way I could do it. But technically, I was losing money, right?
Right, for sure. You could have had, think about it, if you $3,000 if you were disciplined enough and you invested it into something else that could have made you more money. You'd have had more of it.
Right.
Very difficult to be that disciplined. I'm not that disciplined kind of guy. And I'm the tax guy. But when it comes to myself, it's just like the mechanic that's driving around the worst car in the city because he's too busy working on everybody else's. It's the same thing here. When it comes to being disciplined and holding back taxes for myself, I put that on my wife. She's real good at it.
I think Mitch is back with us. You there, Mitch?
Yes, I am.
All right. So
Hey,
I
Mitch,
guess you lost your cell there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm over here in the hills in Iowa. Yeah, I have to pay every year, pay the money back, and it can be anywhere from $1,500 to $5,000 every year I pay back.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. There should be no reason in the world
Well,
why you have that.
My wife says we moved into a higher tax bracket because she got promotion at work and with everything else we got going on. All the kids moved out. We don't have tax on our kids because they're all gone.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the earned income credits or child credits. Yeah, so you may want to claim zero dependents. And then at the end of the year.
That's what I do. That's what I do. I claim zero.
If you're claiming zero, there's no reason in the world why you should have amounts owed. No reason in the
Claiming
world.
zero, that means they're holding out the maximum amount for whatever if you're paid bi-weekly, whatever that income would be, right?
Yep, precisely. There's no reason in the world why you should owe. Something's hinky. I give us a call. Send us your last 3 years' tax returns. Let us review them and see what's going on. Maybe we can amend them and get some money back.
Hey, sounds good to me. I'll give your wife a call in the morning. I appreciate your time. Thank you for being part of this with everybody. Steve, have a good one. Talk to you later.
All right. Thank you, Mitch. Thanks for calling back. Toll free. It's 888-860-8785. 860-TRUK. 17 past the hour. We'll be back in 90 seconds on America's Trucking Network. Let me see here. A couple of quick heads up for drivers out there on the roadway. Steve, there's a full-grown sitting in the scale house. Full-grown. I haven't heard that term in a while. That's a state boy. A full-grown. Sitting at the scale house running radars to come up the ramp on I-85 at LaGrange, Georgia. Must be trying to get you speeding in the scales. But glad to hear we're going to be able to continue listening to the program on XM until October the 18th. Headed to Atlanta, then back to Dothan, Alabama. Have a good one. That's from Hard Times. All right, Hard Times. He also headed there. Maybe they'll leave you on there permanently. Hard Times. I don't think that's going to happen. Don't hold your breath there. I'm not exactly sure what even transpired in the last few days to prompt the change from August the 28th to October the 18th. But that's what the email said. Let me see. Anyway, driving I-65 northbound from Alabama into the Tennessee. The scale house there is doing level 1 and 3 inspections on about every other truck. Logbook checks, including electronic logs. So heads up. They've got a full-blown blitz going there. And then he's questioning, heard anything about the cargo plane crash in Birmingham, if there's any detours because of it. I have not heard anything about detours. Just, matter of fact, very limited information about the actual crash itself. All I know is, that's the second plane that's gone down on approach, and the National Transportation Safety Board did kind of advise that they're concerned. They definitely want to look into what's going on here. It's unusual to have those kind of scenarios, but the pilot and the co-pilot, I believe, in that UPS cargo plane scenario did perish in that crash earlier this week. Okay, Dean, back at it here. Well, always good to have you with us, Dean. I think we've pretty much taken care of at least the callers we had online for you this morning, any questions they had. So anything we have not touched on that you wanted to hit on this morning by chance? Or
just most importantly, I talk about it all the time, is that procrastination factor. And, I've been a victim of it myself. I've been one of the biggest procrastinators I know, which got myself in the tax trouble many years ago. So not only do I know how to fix these things from a professional standpoint, I know how it feels from a personal standpoint. Mm-hmm. So if you call me and you're looking for help, you can know that you're dealing with somebody that's been through this himself. And I'm not one of those companies that looks down the nose at you. I know how it feels. Believe me, I also know how it feels when that burden is lifted off your shoulders. So, anyone that's out there driving right now thinking about, should they call? Maybe they're going to call someday, or maybe they might write down the number. Just do it. Just make the call. Give us a call now. We've got people on standby. The calls have slowed down a little bit since earlier tonight, so you're guaranteed to talk someone straight off. And, like I said, 561-899-4151. Give us a call. I'll be more than happy to help you myself, since it looks like I'm going off the air now anyhow. So call in, talk to me, or one of the boys.
So the idea is there are some alternatives available out there. Yeah, I guess it can be kind of a nightmare, but if you get the proper help, the kind of help that you can offer, it would lighten the burden.
Yeah, I can't stress that enough. It's not something you want to go through guessing if you did the right thing. And 9 times out of 10, the IRS isn't going to lead you on the right path that's going to be most beneficial to you. So some people are worried about the cost for representation or what have you. I make it real easy, to take care of things. It doesn't mean that, I'm real cheap, but what it does mean is that I work with you as far as payments are concerned. If you haven't set aside funds for representation, I'm real easy to get along with. I want to help as many people as I can. Any of those people that left nice messages about me or called in and said nice things, I'm sure they'll be more than happy to share with you as well. I've helped them, and I'll be more than happy to help any of you out there, and at a very reasonable cost.
There you go. Well, Dean Druin, it's always educational and informative when we have you on the show. We always learn something new. And, one thing I do learn, it seems like every time, is there are undoubtedly a lot of tax preparation deals out there where they may not do the right thing for you.
Right. I want to thank you so much for having us on the show, Steve. I've told you countless times, and I'll say it again. You've been a blessing to this company, and a blessing to a lot of the drivers out there that we've been able to help because of you. I want to thank you a lot for that. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, undoubtedly. Yeah, we'll do it again somewhere down the line. Hopefully you won't have a washout this weekend, Dean.
There you go. I'll be riding high.
Get out there and enjoy that bike.
Thank you, sir. You take care. Have a good night, and good night to everybody out there.
All right. And a super weekend. Dean Druin, mytaxhelpmd.com. Wonder what Dean could offer in trade for an adult-sized big wheel. No kidding. I mean, as a kid, we all had a big wheel, right? You had a big wheel. If you didn't have one at some point in time, you wished you did. Now you can be a badass on a trike with a high roller, adult-sized big wheel. Not a joke. Built with a heavy-duty steel frame and forks that can support riders who weigh up to 275 pounds. If you're a bit shorter or a bit taller than the average Joe, not to worry. The fully adjustable padded seat can accommodate anywhere from 5'2" up to 6'6" tall. Equipped with molded 14-inch plastic rear wheels and the humongous 26-inch front wheel. Just go back and be like living the old times. Can you see that? Some big ass out there on a big wheel spinning out in the circle. Now, it's not a joke. It's the real deal. You can get one yourself right now for $650. The adult-sized big wheel. If you were left out as a kid, Greg, you didn't have one? Oh, yeah. First you had the big wheel, and then what was the next generation was, I think it was called the Green Machine. The Green Machine. Oh, yeah, that was with the handles, kind of worked on the opposite premise of the big wheel, but that was Yeah, toys of the kids. Got about a minute before news update. When we come back, we'll get to some of the various industry headlines of the day. I found a very interesting story via the Oil Price Information Service in our discussions of transitioning to natural gas-powered trucks. They were talking about some of the fuel hauler companies apparently were talking about transitioning their vehicles, believe it or not, to natural gas vehicles. And they've kind of hit a speed bump, I guess you'd say. There are some bulk fuel terminal operators that are considering barring any sort of natural gas-powered trucks from their loading racks. Safety concerns, they say. So more on that coming up. And if you want to chime in, what's on your mind as we head into a Friday, it's 888-860-8785. Hey, trust you've had a good week. We're wrapping it up because here comes a Friday. 25 before the hour. Toll free. It's 888-860-8785. So, pretty bizarre. Petroleum haulers eager to use natural gas. Several bulk fuel terminal operators apparently are actually talking about barring natural gas-powered trucks from their loading racks. The International Liquid Terminals Association, the ILTA, they say natural gas-fueled tractors are new to the hauling business, of course, and the terminal operators have little or no experience with these sort of trucks. Their concern stems from the natural gas vehicles' spark-ignited engines. Some terminal operators are questioning the safety of allowing natural gas vehicles to load flammable cargoes. Difficult to say how widespread the concern is, but we know for sure it's not an isolated thing. According to the association's director of compliance and safety, there haven't been too many natural gas-powered tractors on the road. Decades ago, gasoline truck engines posed a risk because of their spark ignition. It was commonly known that you don't allow spark ignition engines near a flammable environment, he says. Now, a gasoline-powered pickup could blow the roof off a storage tank. So the veterans of the terminal business, they're most likely to view spark ignition engines as a bad idea. The ILTA actually put out a white paper to inform their members on natural gas vehicles and the potential risk of handling combustible liquids. That paper concludes, and I quote, "There is no diminished margin of safety operating a spark-ignited natural gas vehicle in the terminal area versus a diesel fuel compression ignition engine, including the area under the terminal loading racks. Yeah, the modern solid-state design of natural gas engines and the temperature of natural gas vehicle exhaust components make them no less safe than diesel engines." Again, that coming from the ILTA white paper. Now, compressed natural gas cylinders are protected by a thermal relief valve that only operates if the cylinder is exposed to fire. Liquid natural gas tanks will only vent if they're left standing for several days or more. The natural gas retrofits available today don't pose the same risk. Now, like diesels, they are compressed ignition engines, they say, but interesting debate. All about safety. How bizarre would that be? Trying to make the transition to natural gas vehicles, but we don't want you in the terminals loading gasoline. Well, I know they were on track. They were trying to get this accomplished by Labor Day weekend. Seems like there was a story earlier in the summer about they were going to get some kind of a bonus to complete the job before Labor Day, but doesn't look like that's going to be the case. We're talking about the Washington State, the bridge over Interstate 5, the Skagit River Bridge, the one that had the bridge collapse. Looks like that will be slated to open just after Labor Day. Spent this week moving some of the large steel girders into place alongside that temporary span that was erected after the collapse back in May. Still on schedule to replace the temporary span in early September, shortly after Labor Day weekend, they say. Well, they've spent the summer driving piles into the river to create the work platforms next to the temporary span. Once the girders are in position, contractors will slide them into their permanent home using a manufactured rail system. I think that'd probably be a pretty cool job to watching the bridge go up, huh? Of course, prior to the bridge collapse, that bridge carried 71,000 vehicles per day. It was obviously a very busy span. Hey, hello, Horse Feathers.
Good morning, Steve.
Morning.
Hey, just to let you know, the Waffle House on the east side of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, you have plenty of room there if you want to go in and get a seat.
Oh, well, thank you.
Just by there, you can see in the windows there. It's pretty desolate. Looks like they're looking for some business. But so you're talking about these big wheels now. Do they have the same issue? Because I remember when I was a kid and I had my big wheel, and you'd be on gravel or something, and there's not enough weight on that front wheel, and you'd go to start out, and that wheel would spin, and then your foot would come off the pedal, and you'd run it over. You'd run over your own leg with it.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering if they got the balance issues all worked out on these bigger ones, because I think with the bigger ones and the steel frame, I think they could create some sort of real serious injury.
I don't know. You get a 250-pound guy on a big wheel trying to do a spin out. I think you could be looking at an injury.
Yeah, your foot come off the pedal and end up underneath the wheel, and then you run yourself over. And I'm just thinking that. I hope they got the balance.
I can see it. A Friday afternoon, big guy with the big wheel, 12-pack of Budweiser. That sounds like an emergency room visit.
Yep. And he was probably headed for the bar with it, right?
Right.
He's got a 12-pack of Miller Lite. I wouldn't know who that would be.
I had no idea.
But so, hey, I saw in the news there earlier tonight there that they were going over your auction there for all those cars that they had with that car dealership. Where was it, out west somewhere?
I'm trying to remember. I think it was Illinois, wasn't it?
Somewhere out there. I know it's west of me. But they were saying that family that had that car dealership, when they took your trade-in, they didn't put the trade-in on the lot to sell as a used car.
Yep.
They took it out to the farm and set it out there.
Put it out in the field.
So they would only sell new cars. So when you come in, you couldn't buy a used car from them. You had to buy a new car from them.
So the trade-ins ended up out in an open field. And at the end of any given model year, when the new models would come out, he would take the unsold from that year, and that's the ones that ended up in a garage, actually.
Yeah, all the leftovers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But vehicles with 5, 6, 10 miles on the odometer.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's just really unbelievable. So, but as I say, they were showing a bunch of them on the NBC News tonight. So. I don't know if anybody can.
I'm guessing, because I guess the auction's coming up here pretty soon, isn't it?
Yeah, they said middle or end of September.
Something like that, yeah.
But just to see the cars, I mean, they had video, with just rows and rows of cars out in the field for the used ones, and they were in the barn and they showed a bunch of the ones there. There was odometers, it was all 0001.5
Yep.
on the odometer.
So, I mean, even the ones in the garage, though, they looked, they looked pretty aged, didn't they? Like, of course, covered in dust and all that. I remember reading that they said whatever condition the vehicle's in, if it's out there in the field or if it's in the garage, it's going to be presented as they're not going to clean them up or anything. I mean, they're probably some of the ones that were in the garages. They could buff them up and make them look like brand new.
Oh, I'm sure, but yeah, as you said, they were just going to sell them as is. And they were showing them putting the numbers on, and all they did was they wiped the dirt off the window enough that they could get their crayon on the window.
Wow.
And that was all they did to it. The auction people. So, but that was pretty interesting to see them on there. I was kind of glad I knew what it was before I saw it, because it really caught my attention. That you brought it up before.
We talked about that, yeah.
Yep. And I guess as far as the iHeartRadio goes here, I've had that on I got my Smarter Than Me phone probably about a year and a half ago now, and just after I got it, I started hearing about it. So I've actually listened to quite a few of the Clear Channel stations I used to listen to up in New York. Some of them that used to play real country music, and so I've been pretty happy with it. The amount I do use it is limited, because most of the time I'm on listening to you on my XM for as long as I have that. And I think I'm going to give it about a month after the end of this month and see what happens, whether I'm going to unplug it or not, because I've actually got it cut back. It only has news and talk on it. I don't even have any of the music stations, because I was so disgusted when the whole merger happened that I really didn't listen to the music stations anyways. I didn't care for a lot of them. So I actually cut it back, and now at this point, with Clear Channel going away from it, that's about another 2/3 of what I listen to. So it might just all go away, and I might just stick with the iPhone and see what I got from there.
So a couple of weeks ago, they introduced this iHeartRadio Talk platform. I mean, I'm guessing most of the programming they had on iHeart was music oriented. Was that the idea? And is there a difference between one and the other?
Well, the iHeartRadio, everything I've ever dealt with has all been stationed. So, the Clear Channel stations, the 2 or 3 of them I used to listen to in New York, and the 1180 I used to, that you guys used to be on when you had the
WHAM out of Rochester, yeah.
And that channel's on there, and you can listen to 700 all day long. All the different programs through there. So if you like your Jim Scott in the morning, you can listen to it on the iHeart. And it's all been there all along here. I've been, using it for about the last year and a half, and I've been pretty happy with it. And I got AT&T here in the southern Pennsylvania, central Pennsylvania, over to Philly area, and down through northern Maryland and everything is about where I operate out of, and I really don't have any problem with service anyway. So anybody on the AT&T, I usually have pretty good luck through here. But anyway, I just thought I'd kick it out there with that and say howdy doody and say we saw those cars. So that was pretty cool, though.
Well, thank you very much, Horse Feathers. Be safe out there. If you weren't with us in the first hour, I kind of mentioned out of the box that we got an update this past day from Clear Channel in regards to the pending changes in regards to XM radio. The date had been August 28th or 31st. I had seen reports either way, but whatever. That has now changed to October the 18th. That'll be a Friday, October the 18th. And also announced was, I guess, to make it easier for the transition for so many who have listened to the likes of America's Talk 244, which we are, of course, on, or the Extreme Talk XM 243. You've got Talk Radio XM 246, all of which are Clear Channel programming stations. That they're going to take the content as you have the format of ATN through the overnight and the other programming throughout the day, the various hosts, and move them as a whole to iHeartRadio. So you'll be able to punch up America's Talk via iHeartRadio. That's part of their introduction of iHeartRadio Talk here a couple of weeks ago. So more of a focus on spoken word or talk radio programming, obviously. So there you go. Toll free. Our number is 888-860-8785. Back in just a moment on ATN. One other item. I've had a couple of emails in recent days about with the iHeart platform. Can you record programs? I think the idea of when they use the term on demand, with the introduction of iHeartRadio Talk, and they're announcing the various radio hosts on demand. On demand means when you want to listen to them. If it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon and you want to tune in and catch what, say, Rush Limbaugh had on demand, you can punch it up. I guess obviously using the likes of the podcast technology. So my understanding is essentially, yes, you'll be able to listen. For those who, some they say would record our program because they were sleeping nights and then kind of listen to it during the daytime hours. On demand, you'll have the ability to listen to the program. Absolutely. That's what on demand means, right? What's up, Good Wrench?
A little more information about that auction.
Okay.
That's in Pierce, Nebraska.
Nebraska, okay.
Yeah, mostly north, a little west of Omaha, kind of west of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, or Sioux City, Iowa, whatever, and I guess I'm going to be there.
Of course, they had the full list of vehicles that are going to be available. So some of them catch your eye?
Oh, I mean, I don't think you can ever buy anything. I think it's going to be some insane money out there. There'll be people there from all over the world. But it'd be just interesting to go to. And, I'm taking a trailer. I'm going to take my trailer out.
Just in case? All right.
Yeah, and who knows what.
I mean, if they're not going to clean them up or anything, they're going to look pretty dingy, most of them, aren't they?
Well, yeah, but we can see through that.
Ah, okay.
That ain't a problem. And there's a brand new 58 Cameo pickup truck with like 1 mile on it. And, well, this is Gary from Omaha calling. And I'll call you back, Gary. The top is pushed down a little bit on it. It's not fatal, but it was a high dollar sport truck at one time when it was new, but now it's 57 years old or whatever it is, and been sitting there all this time. I thought at first it would really bring some big money, but after I saw pictures of it and stuff, I don't think it'll bring any huge money. There's a 53 Corvette pedal car it may bring some really big money. It wouldn't surprise me if that ain't a $10,000 or $20,000 toy there.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some new Chevrolet accessories and parts and stuff. And
I see a 78 Corvette with 5 miles on it since it rolled off the assembly line. Now, a vehicle like that, what's it going to take to get that back in order, though? I mean, once you lift up the hood, and anything that's like, what gaskets and rubber, all that's going to have to be replaced, isn't it?
Well, that's a pace car. That car should bring some pretty big money. But, a lot of the rubber stuff will be bad. The gas has went bad in the gas tank, so it may have ruined the tank, ruined the line. The brake, it used regular brake fluid in it, so all the wheel cylinders could be corroded, or probably are corroded. Inside of all the brake lines are corroded. The brake hoses are bad.
Wow. Master cylinder need replaced?
Master cylinder and the wheel cylinders all going to need replaced. But you've got a 78 pace car with 5 miles on it. That's going to be the catch.
Uh-huh.
And there's some new Carvairs. There's 6 new 64 Chevrolet pickup trucks, and I think they're all six-cylinder four-wheel drive. So I'd say somebody, that may have been a fleet sale that fell through or something. I don't know. My brother called me a month or two ago, and he said, "You know about that auction in Nebraska?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Going to be there." And he said, well, he used to work for a major insurance company, and he had people working for him. And he said one of his employees they were riding their Harleys out in there one day. Said they went by this old dealership, and there sat a 69 Camaro SS 396 sitting in the weeds behind the fence. They walked in, and this old man was sitting there. "How much for your Camaro?" $1,850. Guy said, "I'd give you $1,600 for it." "No, the car is not for sale," he said. There was a bunch of other cars sitting back behind it. He said, "What about them back there?" And he said, "Those cars aren't for sale either." So the story I got was that he gave you his best price right off the bat.
Yeah.
You paid that price, or he kept the car. And there's some 57 Chevys. There's about 8 or 10 57 Chevys. There's, I think, one 2-door, several 4-doors. There's a couple wagons, and I might be able to buy one of them for $1,000, $2,000. Who knows? And I don't know. We'll just see. But they're supposed to sell all 504 cars on Sunday. All the parts, tools, and memorabilia on Saturday, and all the cars on Sunday. So they're going to have to knock out about one car a minute.
Wow.
So, they're going to sell them quick, I'd say. And just, who knows? I might be able to buy something. But
Somebody, it's been publicized pretty heavily around the country, so
all over the
everybody
world
knows about it. Yeah.
Yeah. There's Norfolk, Nebraska has got about 600 motel rooms. A fellow from Nebraska called me here a while back, and he was talking about it. And he said, "My daughter lives right outside of Pierce, 1,200 people." He said, "There's 600 motel rooms in Norfolk." Well, there ain't none. They're all full. So we had to get rooms in Columbus, which is about, 50 or 60 miles away. But you'd never guess who called me here a while back.
Who is it?
Freddie the Freeloader.
Really? You know what? He's called a time or two over the years here as well. I got to get a quick timeout. We're right up against the clock. We'll be right back on ATN. When you say the term, Freddie the Freeloader, it's like, yeah, geez. And anytime he calls, yeah, he would always say, "Well, I got a heartbeat." Well, that's a good thing. Yeah, it's got a heartbeat. And if you could you throw in a good old Webb Pierce? He would always, and he did that for you, good Ranch. Dirty bum. Webb Pierce. News update time, though. We'll be back right after this as we roll into the early hours of a Friday on America's Trucking Network.